Hello, thanks for clicking. I'm Mark Morse. Today I wanted to talk about some Beatle related items. Um, First thing before we go into this, I just wanted to mention most of you probably already know, but on Friday, Ringo Starr's single came out, February Sky, a song from one of his upcoming EPs. I heard that on the radio a couple times on Friday. Sounds really good. I really like it. The other big news was there's a brand new Lennon McCartney song out. I suppose it should be Lennon. Paul McCartney's son James released a single, and Sean Lennon was the co-writer. So we got ourselves another McCartney Lennon project going on there. I heard it to Primrose Hill. It sounds pretty nice too. I only heard it once, so I haven't listened to it again. It was on the radio, but it sounds good too. So I thought I would pass that on. If you haven't heard it already, I'm assuming that most people who watch this program already knew about that, but I thought I would throw it out there, and I think both of them sound great. Ringo Starr's really sounded really good. February Sky, I think it was written by Linda Perry, so it's a really nice song. So maybe I'll link to it if I think about it. The rest of this video, I want to talk about a couple things I picked up recently, and one was something that I didn't know existed until I saw Beatle Dave's video from several months ago. I've been going back through archives of some of my favorite YouTubers to see what they've done in the past, and I ran across this one from Beatle Dave. And it's an album I didn't know existed, and he was talking about how long it took him to find it. And not long after I saw his video, I ran across the album. It's the songs Lennon and McCartney gave away. And so this is artists who Lennon and McCartney, sometimes it's just Lennon, sometimes it's just McCartney, but in most cases, at least accredited to Lennon and McCartney, gave to other artists. And it's actually a fascinating little listen. I was not expecting much from this, but when Beatle Dave was talking about it, it really piqued my interest, and then to come across it so soon. Now I found this, it's not a great copy. The cover's pretty beat. The vinyl's good. It's a little noisy, but I was happy to get it. This was released in 1979 in the UK. And it just has a lot of different artists that did Beatles songs that the Beatles didn't record themselves, or if they did, it was for like a Decca audition, or bits and pieces show up on the anthology series. So I'm going to link to Beatle Babes. Sorry, Dave. Beatle Babe. There is a Beatle Babe out there. Hi, Beatle Babe, if you're watching. I forgot about Jen. But Beatle Dave's, I'm gonna link to Beatle Dave's video talking about this. He goes by song through song, and he has a lot more knowledge about these songs, and he gives it a lot better rundown than I will. But I wanted to talk about some of my favorites on here. I'll just go down the list here. I'm the Greatest, Ringo Starr. I bet most of you have heard that from Ringo's 1973 album written by John Lennon. I believe this is the only song on here that was published after the Beatles breakup. I think all these other ones were done during the era of the Beatles. One thing I'll say about this, and it makes total sense, but a lot of these songs remind me of 1950s, early 1960s rock and roll songs before the Beatles came around, which would make sense because this they were written during that time period, or most of them were. And so they kind of have a classic 50s rock and roll sound to them to me. But there's some really good standouts on here. The second song on side one, One and One is Two. The Strangers with Mike Shannon. Three, From a Window by Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas. There's some songs on here. Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, the ones they perform on here seem really strong to me. And then, of course, Peter and Gordon, they have some songs on here that are very strong. And Peter, of course, is Peter Asher, who Paul McCartney dated his sister Jane Asher and lived in the house for a while. So there's a lot of connection there. Nobody I Know, number 4, Peter and Gordon. Like Dreamers Do, the Applejacks. 6, I'll Keep You Satisfied, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas. 7, Love of the Loved, Celia Black. Now, she's another one that she has a couple songs on here. It looks like 3. They're all great. And Celia Black was coat hat check woman at the Cavern Club where the Beatles often perform, so she has a long connection with them. Woman, number 8, Woman, Peter and Gordon. That one's interesting because that's McCartney wanted to see if he went by a pseudonym. So Peter and Gordon performed it, but McCartney didn't put his name down as the writer. He went by Bernard Webb. He wanted to see if the song would make it without his name attached to it. It did somewhat. It sounds like it did fairly well. It seems like once the word got out that it was Paul McCartney, it did better. But I just thought that was a little interesting. Tip of My Tongue by Tom Quickly, and I'm in Love by The Foremost. And then that takes us to side 2. This is kind of interesting here. It's kind of reminiscent of Sgt. Pepper's to me. You know how they always show those things for Sgt. Pepper's Who's Who. So they have all the artists up front. And then on the back you can identify who they are. But side 2 starts off with Hello Little Girl, The Foremost. That Means a Lot, PJ Proby. It's For You, Cilla Black again. Panina, Carlos Mendez. Step Inside Love, Cilla Black. Cilla Black was really, she made it really big in the UK. I don't remember hearing much about her in the States when I was growing up, but she seems to have been a very popular personality in the UK. Had her own TV show and everything. You can still look up some of her stuff on YouTube, and it's interesting to watch. World Without Love, Peter and Gordon. And this is an odd story because I've heard this song so many times, and I think it was about 2 years ago before I realized that was a Lennon McCartney song. I'd always thought that was something that was Peter and Gordon's big song that they had done themselves. And so I was a little shocked to find out it was a Lennon McCartney song, but that's how out of touch I've been. So World Without Love, Peter and Gordon. Bad to Me, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas again. I Don't Want to See You Again, Peter and Gordon, great song. I'll Be On My Way, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas. And kind of an interesting one. It's an instrumental. It's called Cat Club by the Chris Barber Band. This one seems to be released a little later, 1967. Um, it's a instrumental, kind of a jazzy um, instrumental, a lot of horns, written by Paul McCartney. From what I've read, it sounds like Paul McCartney actually played on the song, and you can hear his voice. He's the one that says something like, "Let's slow it down now." Goes into almost a burlesque sounding band, but it's an interesting song. I didn't want to go on too long about this because Beatle Dave does such a better job at this. And then another thing, just I found interesting about the cover. So the Paul McCartney on the front looks like they've taken it from the Revolver album, and then John Lennon on the cover appears they have taken it from the back of Imagine. I know that's what they've done. I saw it on Wikipedia. But, and then this other strange little thing I came across, and this may be something everybody already knew about, but I just came across it on eBay. It was real cheap, and it was called D.B.M. presents Disco Beatlemania on this giant 45. I got it just out of curiosity. I think it came out in 1977. D.B.M. turns out to be a guy by the name of Haim Saban. I looked him up. I'll put a link to him down below. Kind of an interesting guy. Was into record production. Got into all sorts of media. Became the guy who produced and distributed Power Rangers. And now is listed as one of the most wealthy men in America. So I was a little surprised that this goofy little thing came from somebody who went on to become such a financial kingpin in America. But this thing is just crazy. So it is Disco Beatles, and what they've done, or what he's done, is he's taken a medley of Beatles songs, put them together with kind of a disco feel to it. If I would have heard this when it came out in 1977, I'm sure I would have been disgusted with it because I'm such a, especially at the time, I was just such a Beatles purist. I was like, you shouldn't be messing with these Beatles songs, especially back then. I was so you were kind of in two camps in the 70s, at least in the small town I grew up. You either liked rock and roll or you liked disco, and there was no mixing. So I would have been disgusted by this then. But it's actually kind of entertaining to listen to. It's on YouTube, so I'll link to it below. But it's a fun little listen. Definitely not an essential record to have as a Beatle collector, but a fun little listen. So let's see, is that all I have for you today? I think that's it today. I just want to go over some of these oddities. Thank Beatle Dave again for not only continually supporting my channel, but helping me find new items and knowing what to look for. I believe that's it. I had all these ideas for videos this weekend. I had like 3 videos I wanted to do. I think I got bitten by a tsetse fly sometime on Friday. I just couldn't find the energy all weekend, and finally today I'm like, I'm going to make at least one of these videos. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you next time.